again. Let's see if this worked. Welcome, guys. Let's see if we got an updated stream. We might have to post a link to the existing one.
There we are.
You seeing it?
I see it.
Okay, I see it too. Let me post that link for everybody that is already waiting in the previously scheduled stream. Hold on.
There we are.
All right, hopefully we have some people popping over here. Let's see. Turn on my chat. Brandon, what's up, Brandon? Tom, working for you. What's up, Tom? Thank you, Tom. Appreciate everybody's patience. Let's see. We'll wait and let me get the right one up here. I gotta love testing out new things. And I figured just jumping in the fire and testing out something new with two guests. I mean, if you're gonna do it, might as well
go big or
all the
go
way,
home.
right? That's right. So let's see. I'm trying to get the stream in my YouTube dashboard so I can. Okay, there we go. That should be it. I'll make sure I can check the status of the stream as we're recording. And my thumbnail's off. And everything that I planned and arranged beforehand, of course, is not working. Brandon, doing well if it wasn't for technical difficulties. How you doing today? Good to see you here, Brandon. Let's test out this. Doing well. And hopefully Frederick or Trent posted the link in the other chat. Good to see everybody here. William, Doug. What's up, Doug? Eric and George are joining us. We'll wait. We're going to give a few minutes. We'll just hang out for a second and let everybody hopefully make their way over to this live stream. Okay, thanks, Trent. Trent said he posted the link to the correct stream over there. And maybe if you haven't, Trent or Frederick, if you wouldn't mind posting an actual comment on that page too, and not just in the chat, and maybe people will see that there. So hopefully everybody makes their way over here. All right, we got 62 people. People are rolling in. What's up, Mark? We are testing out some new software for the first time, so I appreciate everybody's patience, especially George and Eric here with us for the first time during a live stream. Wanted to test out some new software as we're going to be bringing in some guests and things like that in the near future, some more of these. And this is the first one, so pop out this. How you guys doing today, Eric and George? As we're kind of letting people roll in the chat, let's. You guys having a good week?
We're having a freaking blizzard here. So I look outside where we've got 57-mile-per-hour winds and a ton of snow. And that's after being 70 degrees and beautiful yesterday.
Wow.
Welcome to spring in the Midwest. Yeah, we had a beautiful weekend, and it's been kind of, well, actually, shouldn't say beautiful weekend. There was a lot of snow we had over the weekend, and then it's mostly rain right now. And but like Friday of last week was beautiful weather. So spring is coming, but it has its ups and downs for sure.
Yeah, it's well, it's funny when I say it gets cold here. You guys usually laugh at me. That's like below 50 degrees or so. It gets a little chilly around here. But today, man, yeah, I don't mean to rub it in, but you guys have had some nice days. So it's nice to have those nice days sprinkled in there. You know, today was, we've got pollen everywhere already. I was like dusting off the back porch. Everything is coated in a nice layer of yellow on everything already. So, and it's only going to get worse from here.
It was a little bit chilly yesterday, but it was really nice. I went down in the city to visit a friend. I live near Chicago, for those who aren't aware. And of course, this time of year, Chicago dyes their river green. So I posted that on my Instagram stories. But I've been down to downtown Chicago to visit George before, when George comes to hang out in the city. But I'm wondering, Shane, when are we going to get you and Caroline up here, maybe with George and Teresa, out to Chicago?
Yeah, we'll have to. We need to plan that because I've never been to Chicago. I've been all over the U.S. pretty much, but never been to Chicago. And yeah, I keep hearing how nice it is and how much fun it really is. So maybe we'll just pick one of the warmer months. That's my only
Yes.
request.
Yeah, one of the warmer months. I think George and I could show you a good time. So
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Well, let's get this thing rolling here. We got over 100 people in the chat now. Thank you guys all for your patience and making your way over to the new stream. Like I said, we're kind of testing some new software. Things are a little messy on my end, but it is what it is. And I'm glad you guys found your way here. Welcome, George and Eric. Thank you guys so much for being here. For those who may not be familiar with these two, I got a quick little introduction I'm going to share. So Eric Welander has over 63,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel with over 11 million views. Eric has been working as an app developer for a number of companies since 2011 and has been building out his smart home on YouTube since 2018. Eric is a husband and a father of 3 young children, also an avid violinist. Did I get all that right?
that's true. I'm very impressed, Shane. You did your homework. That's great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. And George has a fast growing YouTube channel as well with over 37,000 subscribers and almost 5 million views totals. George had a 13-year career as a loss prevention manager where he caught over 1,000 criminals. That led him to starting his own security surveillance company where he shared that experience to assist homeowners and business owners in setting up their surveillance systems. Diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer in 2022, George has also been very open about sharing his cancer journey and spreading awareness. Also, a husband and a father, and so happy to say that George has now been cancer-free for 22 months, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Very happy to say. Very happy to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it is great to have you with us today, man. And yeah, what an honor to have you guys both on the channel. You guys both make great smart home content. I tried, again, with all the live stream issues I was having, I tried to update the description. So if all worked well, there are links to both of these guys' channels down in the description, but you could just search them on YouTube and you'll find them if nothing else. Now, I have a channel membership through YouTube, and we have a number of members there. So what I did for this live stream, and I'll do this with other guests, is ask them to ask questions for those coming on. So I got a question we'll start off with, and then we'll get to some of the news and things in the smart home space, if that's cool with you guys. But we first have a question from Frederick, and Frederick is a longtime member and also helps moderate here in these live streams. So thanks, Frederick, for that. And Frederick's question is, how did you get started in home automation, and did that influence you to start your YouTube channel, or was there something else that led you to becoming a content creator? Eric, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I think for me, the home automation and being a YouTube creator kind of go hand in hand. Of course, I was always into Apple tech, and being a developer, I was into the idea of automating other parts of my life that weren't in, on my computer, on my Mac. And I think when Apple first came out with the HomePod, the original HomePod back in 2018 was really when it started to take off for me. And I think, I gradually got some Philips Hue lights. And then once you get to the point with home automation, I'm sure a lot of viewers can relate to this. Once you get an entire room done in automation where then you can sort of set all these dramatically different scenes of lighting, it starts to become really cool what you can do from there. And then, adding sensors and the rest goes on. And just kind of, I didn't start out on YouTube as like some expert in home automation. I don't, necessarily consider myself that. I'm just kind of documenting my journey here and what I learn with you guys. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I got into it. It was all kind of one and the same.
Nice. Very nice. And you, George?
Yeah, so I own Silverhammer Surveillance since 2008, and at the beginning I would install and sell surveillance equipment, but then I also sold and installed spy gear because of my old job. I used to catch employees doing shady things with hidden cameras, and I could hide a camera anywhere. But when I started and branched out on my own, I started getting a lot of weirdos and perverts wanting those hidden cameras, and I just felt like I needed to take a shower every time I sold something. So I was like, I got to change this. So I had the Nest Learning thermostat, the first one, I think in 2011. And then just like Eric, I had this shop in downtown Omaha, and I had these huge windows, and I was right on this cool corner in our downtown here. And so I bought some Philips Hue lights, and then I lit that sucker up different colors every night. And so many people walking by would ask about it, and then I just kind of got into it from there. And then yeah, so I sold and installed smart home stuff with Silverhammer. And then I watched you two do Apple Home on YouTube long before I started my channel. But I took my inspiration from you two, and then I took a left turn and started my channel sharing crazy shoplifter stories from my old job. Um, but the only people that watched those were loss prevention people and shoplifters. I felt like I was teaching shoplifters how to steal. And so I was like, I got to change something else. And then you two were doing Apple Home, and Eric from Modern Day Tech, he's the other one that kind of inspired me. And you three just, I was like, I got to change things up. And then I switched to security and the smart home, and the rest is history.
Awesome. That's very cool. I know you definitely have some interesting stories from your loss
Yes.
prevention days. So very good. Awesome, man. Well, yeah, it's been a journey. It's been cool to see everybody's, both of your channels grow as well, as and mine. We've kind of all been doing it. Me and Eric, we've been doing it for probably about the same amount of time, I guess, and it's just been fun to see. And then George, kind of like George has been growing fast, so a lot of fun. It's been great. I remember when we started doing smart home stuff. I mean, one of the reasons why I kind of started doing Apple Home specifically, for one, it's what I enjoy, but there just wasn't really a whole lot of content on there, especially on YouTube for that, really on the internet in general. So that was kind of my reason for starting, and just to, like you, Eric, to kind of document the process. That's the fun part, and I'm still learning. I've been working on
Yeah.
some stuff recently behind the scenes, and it's like I'm still just figuring stuff out. So that's the fun. So let's
Aren't
get
we
into
all?
yeah, let's get into some of the news, and then we'll take some questions and things like that. Maybe a little bit later on in the stream. Let's see. First up, I'm going to try my screen share here and see if this works again. Everybody, bear with me. New software, trying for the first time. Let's see. I've got too many tabs open, so that's going to make it difficult. Um, Okay, let's go with this. So you guys, let me know if you see that. So Amazon, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Amazon is ending the option to not send Echo voice recordings to the cloud. You guys seeing this live stream
Yep.
or this screen share? I'm sorry. Okay, good. Yeah, so this was reported on The Verge recently. So there's only a few Echo devices, it looks like, that had this option where you could, you know, basically not allow your voice recordings to go up to the cloud. And they're going to do away with that, as it seems, kind of making way for Amazon's new Alexa Plus coming. Sorry if I just triggered your devices there. Um, yeah, what do you guys think about that? Thoughts?
Well, my biggest problem with Amazon has always been the privacy, whether it's cameras or the smart devices or whatever. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, I actually am somewhat surprised to learn that there was ever an option
Yeah,
not to do this with any Amazon products.
exactly.
Right.
I actually have been enjoying some of Amazon's features and things more recently. Been playing around with some of their stuff, of course, with the whole Matter interoperability. You can kind of test a little bit of other smart home systems as you want to or need to, as it matches what you need in your home. So I think, Amazon has a lot of cool stuff, but it does come with the trade-offs of that they're just a more cloud-oriented company, and I think maybe sometimes collect a little more data for their own benefit, which has its trade-offs for sure.
Yeah, to sell stuff, ads all the time.
Yes, I have I asked my Echo a couple days ago, can you please stop telling me about sales and or deals, I think it was, and it said, I'm sorry, I don't know how to help you with that, which I just thought was amazing.
That's funny. Yeah, for real. Yeah, that's interesting. So, yeah, I read also that I think there's new hardware, new Lady A hardware coming in the fall, I think. So it looks like they're kind of getting everything ready for this. And it's really interesting, too, as we're hearing all these rumors and stuff with Apple. It's like the race for AI within the smart home. I mean, really across the board with everything. But within the smart home specifically, it looks like this year is really going to be an interesting year. So it's interesting too that you say you're using some Echo devices. There was another question that I can go ahead and bring up to you guys from R Gandhi 37, one of the channel members, and let's see. Actually, sorry, that's not the question I was looking at.
Well,
What was the other
before
one?
we move too far off Amazon, I do want to add one other point that I've talked about a couple of different places.
Yeah, please.
Back when they came out with the larger Echo Show devices last fall, I got one of those to try out in my kitchen. And as we look at Apple doing a smart display as well, I think there's an interesting concept there around a bigger screen that's a smart screen. Now, it doesn't sound like that's what Apple's going to do initially, but of course, there were rumors for years of Apple doing their own TV set. But some of those larger Echoes playing video content, whether it's you can use Hulu Live TV on them or some other streaming services, it really changed the experience when you have big versions of your photos and then also all the smart home type commands you can do, as well as pulling up things like a video on YouTube to a live TV channel, and just kind of having that as a television, let's say in a kitchen or another place in your home. I think it's a really cool concept, and it's something I hope that more companies do, because I know that not everybody wants to use Amazon's products, and I just think it's just good to have some options and competition. But I love that concept of a bigger smart display than I think a lot of companies do these days.
When
Yeah,
I do
and
get enticed, when I do get enticed to use Amazon, it's because of those smart displays. I mean, I just wish we had the options with across the board with the other platforms as well, because yeah, it's really cool. And Apple, come on, please,
yeah,
please,
and I
please.
agree. And it well, and it plus it sounds like, to Eric's point, it sounds like Apple's, at least the rumors that are generating out there now, their first screen device is probably going to be pretty small. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a very big screen display. And to that point, here's the question that made me think of this when you were talking about that, Eric. And I did also, George. I tried some of the, what was it? It was the Google Nest Hub Max. So I like got the biggest Google one, and that's not Amazon, but I used it for a little while, and I just did not like the software on it. I mean, it's a software thing for me. It just, in terms of controlling my smart home, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but like I'm really looking for, I'm really hoping Apple nails the software on these things.
For sure.
That's what I'll be looking for. But the question here was from, this was actually from Chris Gruber, one of the channel members, said, with Apple's failed AI and Siri 2.0, so yeah, I guess the delays really is what we're talking about there. Do you ever see yourself leaving the Apple Home ecosystem for Amazon's Lady A Plus, we'll call it, or Google's Gemini as the front of your smart home in the future? So more AI talk here as we're kind of seeing that AI race. Do you guys ever see that as being a possibility?
Well, I can tell you that at Silverhammer, I sold Nest cameras and I became a Nest Pro. And so I was actually like a Nest dealer. So for a while, I was so into Nest that I decided to go all Google, and it lasted 15 days. I got myself a Pixel phone. You know, that's what I do. I go big or go home. I go all in. So I went all in, got rid of Apple, but I couldn't handle it. And when I first started my smart home, before I knew any better, I was all Alexa, because that's kind of what started it all, really. so I didn't know any better. But Apple would have to commit some pretty serious crimes to have me switch at this point. I
Okay.
don't see it happen. Just such an Apple snob. I can't do it.
Good to know. You are very brand loyal is something that
I am.
I've learned. So it looks like Eric's trying to adjust some of his stuff back there. So it sounds like Eric is already using some of the Amazon devices. So he might I don't know, Amazon's Lady A Plus might win Eric over maybe.
We'll see. Hopefully, I'm working on some things to hopefully stabilize my video connection. I was getting some comments in the chat about that. But yeah, I like what Amazon's doing, but I follow it as more. I want to be up on what they're doing to inform everybody about what we're missing in Apple Home, what we could have in Apple Home, sort of comparing it to Apple Home. I'm not leaving Apple Home as my primary platform of choice. It's just more, I like to try some things out just to kind of see what things are like other places.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Okay, I see some questions about putting the questions on screen. So the couple questions I asked were actually submitted from members, channel members before the stream, but we can definitely put some questions on screen moving forward. Let's see. And real quick, shout out Modern Day Techs, gifted 20 channel memberships, dude. Thank you so much, Eric from Modern Day Tech. If you guys have not checked out his channel, definitely go do that. Eric, we're gonna have to get you on one of these live streams here one day too, and hopefully we'll get all the kinks ironed out before that happens. But man, thank you so much. So we got 20 new channel members thanks to Eric, and as a channel member, you get early access to new videos. You get access to our member Discord server, where I'm in there every day. And we also do monthly member chats over there in Discord. And yeah, some other stuff like submitting questions for upcoming live streams too. That's kind of a new one. And Brandon says, what a guy. Brandon as well. Check out Brandon's channel. Is it Brandon Doyle? Is that the name of, I guess that's the name of the channel too, right? Yeah, okay. Yep. A lot of good smart home tours over there on Brandon's channel. Some really high-end stuff that always makes me a little bit jealous when I see those. Let's see. I'm gonna try to catch up on some of these comments. Home
What up,
assistant
Eric?
and home
What up,
kit.
Brandon?
Yeah, we all got to hang out a little bit at CES.
Had a blast.
Yes.
All right. So, couple other things real quick we'll share. Let me get through some of these new things in the news or new products that I saw, and then we'll try to answer some more questions while we got everybody here. So let me share my screen again, see if I can get to the... I'm not so sure about this software. I'm trying here, guys. Let's see. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is a Matter over Thread smoke detector. I think this is available for pre-order now. It's not out just yet, but so it's battery powered, and this is, I guess, the first Matter 1.3 smoke alarm. So you do have to be on iOS 18.4, I believe, in order to utilize this, which is in beta right now, and Samsung Smart Things. And I don't think it would even work in the other ecosystems right now. So, that's always a little bit confusing with these Matter devices when you get stuff that works in some and doesn't work in some. Matter 1.4 is the latest, which does support smoke alarms, water sensors, and some other things. So,
And that's coming with iOS 18.4. It's in the betas for that right now.
right. Yep. iOS 18.4. That's right. So if you, I guess, yeah, like I said, this thing right here is still on pre-order, but I guess you could get one of these. My thing is, in the US, like, you have to have hardwired smoke detectors, and there just are not any good options, in my opinion, for a hardwired smoke detector that supports HomeKit natively. The few that you might can get, like this one right here, is battery powered, which is great, but you still have to have hardwired ones. So I don't know. I don't see myself moving to anything new in the near future.
This is
Let's
like
see.
5 years too late, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, once a lot of
I
the
mean,
voices.
with
Go ahead, sorry, George.
I was going to say the same thing I think you were about to say. Since HomePods detect Google does it, Alexa does it. So why do we even need this smart smoke detectors anymore? Get yourself a good, reliable, real smoke detector, and just use your smart speakers as the smart part. So like I said, this is like 5 years too late. We
I,
needed
I
this
Yeah.
5 years ago.
I don't think that Sincerio, or however you say their name, is a company taking advantage of this, but I do think there's room to sort of leverage the existing product that people have in their homes of a smoke detector and replace it with something that could also be a lot more things in your smart home, maybe a presence sensor, maybe a speaker, maybe also linking. Like I have from the previous owner of my home, I've mentioned before, I have a bunch of the Nest Detect smoke detectors, and the nice thing of those is that is it Protect or Detect? I always get those confused from Nest. But anyways, the Nest smoke alarms, when one of them goes off, then all of them in your home start making noise, which can be really nice if you want to be sure that you can hear the smoke alarm soon from anywhere in your home. But I agree with you, George. There's so little benefit for the amount of cost that they have at this point. I think it's not practical for most people.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tried, like I see Mike here mentioned the Owl has the hardwired version. And I tried this one and I tried First Alerts also. They do support HomeKit natively. The Owl I was actually really excited about because that one had like built-in, I think motion. It was a built-in motion sensor and I think a couple other sensors, but it had some issues. I liked it for some things, but it like like you're mentioning how they all go off in the house if one goes off. Like that's the interconnected feature. I think is what the way they phrase that. And your traditional ones do that anyways. And so I just got to the point where I just pulled out all the smart smoke detectors in my house. I put back in like smoke detectors, just dumb smoke detectors with the 10-year battery life. And then I actually have one or two little devices. I use a Bode, the security system. They have a sensor. What do they call it? Like I'm not sure how they rephrase it or how they phrase it. It's doesn't detect smoke, but it detects the sound of a smoke alarm, just like a HomePod does. And I mean, with HomePods and all these speakers that can detect it, I mean, it's hard to beat that. I mean, you get little video pop up with your cameras and everything when something goes off in Apple Home. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to justify the high price for some of those things, I think. Tackleview says, I have the Netatmo smoke alarms, 10-year batteries. Netatmo, I think those are just available in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. I know like Eve, there's more available in Europe. I think there's some restrictions in the US that make it difficult for these manufacturers to get those released here in the US.
Yes, I was asking about this. Why doesn't a smart home company that we all know about and probably love? I was asking one of their representatives at CES why they don't make smoke alarms in the U.S., not Netatmo, another company. And that's exactly what they told me, was that it's a challenging regulatory environment, basically.
Yeah. Makes sense. Akara, that's another one. They just released one, I think it's in Europe too. And yeah, so makes sense. Another thing that I saw that let's see, share my screen. Too many steps here to share my screen. I got to get my Stream Deck set up with this new software, so that's another issue here. I'm not using my Stream Deck. Let's see. Nope. Here we go. There's what I wanted to share. This was teased on Twitter, so this is Third Reality's Matter Over Thread. This is a switch, actually. It looks like they're buttons, but this actually goes over top of your toggle light switch. It'll work with toggle light switches or decor style switches. And they had this demoed at CES, and it looks like this is coming soon. So yeah, that's another product. I was actually thinking about using one of these for something very specific that I think would solve a need in my house. And Third Reality has done mostly Zigbee products. They've got a couple Matter products. I think that may be their first Thread product. So either way, nice to see them coming out with that. And they also have they have a wireless presence sensor, millimeter wave sensor that should be coming out, I think, soon, as well as the Matter keyboard. Hopefully that'll be coming out soon. Have you guys tried any of those products yet?
I have not.
Yeah, Matter
Nope.
the Matter keyboard's been pretty cool. There's some issue. I got an early sample of it. It was from CES. Pretty cool. There's been some issues, so I'm hoping to test the final version here soon. But yeah, good to see. I don't know, Matter over Thread stuff is. I'm always happy to see.
For sure.
Yeah. That third reality keyboard is an interesting idea. I'm all about Matter and Apple Home buttons, and I use them all over the place. But at the same time, I'm kind of concerned that with a keyboard, I'd somehow quickly toggle the mode of the keyboard, and then I'd be messing with my smart home instead of typing, or I'd forget that it was set somehow to do that. And yeah, that
Yeah.
whole concept just seems a little weird to me.
I actually like it. The way it's set up is basically kind of like function keys. So you have like the Matter button where you have to hit that, and then you hit a function key. So I think it would make it kind of hard to accidentally trigger, a smart home routine or something that way. But I was actually told at CES that so right now it supports the 10 function keys, but I was told that they're going to update it to support all the keys at some point. So I mean, you can do like that. I think it's like 80 something different keys that you could program, which is pretty cool. But you got to use the Matter button. So I mean, I guess you could accidentally do that, but it'd be kind of hard. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting concept nonetheless. I see. So yeah, it is Matter over Wi-Fi. Lurk Jerk says. Hair Riot says, I'm stoked about the Matter keyboard, and it just looks cool. I was really hoping they would release it in black. That's what I want to see. It's in
That
white
was my
right
biggest
now.
problem with it. I thought it looked really cool at CES, but I wanted it in black.
Yeah. Edgar asked, did you guys, what's up, Edgar? Edgar's Home Tech, another smart home channel you guys can go check out. Asked, did you all talk about the new Eve dimmer? We have not. I think I may have mentioned that last week on the stream. And my little chats keep disappearing. Let me turn that off so it stays up there. There we go. Have not talked about it. Eric, looks like you're trying to show us something there. There we go. The new Eve dimmer. Have you installed it yet? If you're talking, Eric, I think we might have lost your audio there when you switched cameras, maybe.
I was on mute. That's why.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So it's an interesting design. I was kind of hoping that they'd be able to make this whole front panel just be a dimmer somehow, but I could see how that could be mistriggered pretty easily. So I don't know. Like, it looks. I don't love the way it looks, but we'll have to see once I actually use it if I get used to that.
Yeah, and you have not installed yours yet, you said?
I have not installed mine yet.
Yeah, me either. I'm trying to figure out where, like, I want to install one. I might replace one of the, I still have some of the old Lutron switches in my bedroom. I was thinking about maybe replacing the light switch in there with the Eve one. I just love Lutron stuff so much. They work so well, but it is the
Yeah.
old style. And I do kind of hate that old one with the, the buttons. I like the paddle one much
The original
better.
style, as they say.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
So-
I might put it in there. I'm running, like, I'm out of light switch options in my house. I found a place for one of the Akara switches. So, I mean, I've got like, oh, that's a smart bulb. I've got a bunch of these here, some of the new Akara ones. So I found
Yeah.
somewhere to put one of these, but
Shane, eventually you're just gonna have to become like Snazzy Labs Quinn Nelson on YouTube, who bought a house for his YouTube channel basically and turned that into his studio. It's just move out
Yeah.
of your own home.
maybe one
My-
day.
My OCD will not allow me to mix light switches. I would love to. I would love to have a different brand everywhere, but I can't. My brain would explode.
Yeah, I did get to where I switched out like all of the main ones in my main living room, living areas, like on the main
Hmm.
floor, I guess I should say, with the new Lutron ones. So they're pretty consistent now, but for a while I was a little all over the place. But some of the bedrooms and here in the studio, I've changed out like a number of times, and I might do it again. I'm thinking about maybe putting the 4 button one. Trent asked, "How are those Akara switches?" So far, so good. They support Matter, and they can connect over Zigbee or Thread, which is really unique. I think I love that they do that. So you have options. Some people prefer Zigbee, some people prefer Thread with these devices, and even the light bulb too. You can connect over Thread or Zigbee. So I chose to connect my light switch through Zigbee since I have one of the Akara hubs, and
Hmm.
their Zigbee stuff is just so solid that, for me, that just makes the most sense. But yeah, so far it works really well, and if you pair it with one of the light bulbs, it's like instantaneous. It works really well.
Nice.
Before we
Uh,
move too far off of Eve, we should mention also that Eve started shipping a slightly different version of their Eve Cam that has USB-C now. It looks exactly the same otherwise, same price, same everything, but it has USB-C and I think like a little bit better night vision. So just I've installed that, but don't really have much else to say about it at this point.
Nice. Yeah, I did see, I did notice that too. I've got another one of the I've got one of the updated ones as well. I'm probably going to replace one of my older indoor cameras with that. That was a good camera, especially like privacy first camera. I always really liked it. It was actually one of the first HomeKit secure video
Hmm.
cameras on the market. There weren't, I think it was
Sure
maybe like
was.
the second or third one.
Yeah.
So nice to see they updated that with USB-C. And I think maybe my only complaint was the night vision sometimes wasn't great. So it looks like they've made some improvements on that. So look forward to testing that out.
Hmm.
And to answer Drew's question, the new Eve switch is thread based. So it's Matter over Thread for that new Eve light switch, the Eve dimmer, I guess I should say. Um, Now, let's see. Any other good stuff to talk about? Oh, yeah, let's see. Share screen. I don't know. Did you guys see this? Let me find the right tab to share. Yeah, here we go. You guys see this over on HomeKit News? Reported that apparently SwitchBot has a new Hub 3 that was leaked. I don't know if leaked is the right word, but it is. It was seen on the CSA website. So you
And
got the
OMG, is it really going to come in black? That would be wonderful.
That's right. I heard you at some point pleading with SwitchBot to make black
Please,
devices, if I
please,
recall
please.
correctly.
I would have SwitchBot all over the place if they were black, but no, no, no. It's got to all be white.
It is. You're right. Most of their stuff is white. So there's not much information on this. There's no official release. Like I said, this was just seen on the CSA Connectivity Standards website. So I don't know, something to maybe look into if you're interested. Are you guys? I guess George, you're not because they don't
Hmm.
have any black devices. Eric, are you using SwitchBot in your house?
I do have, I'm looking right now at my SwitchBot Hub 2 and my SwitchBot CO2 monitor. That's about the extent of my SwitchBot products I'm using on a daily basis right now. What I'm curious about from hearing about from folks in the chat is just with this new SwitchBot rumored hub that's on this HomeKit News post, they're adding more controls there. SwitchBot already has a bunch of data that you can see, like temperature and other stuff, and some basic buttons on their existing Hub 2. I kind of think of hubs as just something that's for compatibility. You stick it in a closet and you're done with it. You don't really keep it out and about. But maybe other people love that idea of having this thing be dual purpose and kind of sitting out on a counter or a table or whatever. I don't know if people are more putting things in closets like myself or wanting to put their hubs out so they can use it if it has buttons and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question. Y'all let us know in the chat if you enjoy hubs with added functionality that you can put out in places. I actually have my SwitchBot hub sitting right here on my desk. Tells me the temperature. It does have 2 buttons on it that you can use, but I actually never use those. So I'm kind of with you. I feel like Akara kind of changed my perception on that because they started coming out with hubs with all kinds of functionality, like I mean cameras that are actually hubs
Mhm.
as well, and it kind of got me thinking that it's pretty cool, specifically for people maybe who are just starting or like maybe you don't have any Akara devices, and a lot of people are turned off when they hear the word hub, they immediately shut down. So, the fact that you can get a camera, for example, or maybe even a temperature sensor that you want to display somewhere, and it can be a hub, maybe just for a little sensor, or those who may be getting started and don't have all kinds of stuff in their closet like many of us. So I'm kind of torn on that. Let's what people say here.
And I do have a SwitchBot hub going. It's just hidden. I've got the CO detector as well, and then I also have
Okay,
their wireless
okay.
oscillating fan.
So you are using them. You just won't display
I've got
them
a few.
until they come
Yes,
in black.
correct.
I gotcha. I wish the SwitchBot remote would do more devices. Someone
Mhm.
said Taco View hates hubs, so that's one of those that does not like hubs. SwitchBot needs thread already. Edgar says, yeah, they are still using Bluetooth. Their stuff works pretty well. I agree with that. Brian says seeing the temperature and CO2 levels is useful. Yeah, I do kind of like having the big temperature display. So the newer Hub 2 I thought looked really nice. That's why I
Mhm.
left one out on my desk. Um, Turin says, how close do those SwitchBot hubs have to be to the blinds since it works on Bluetooth? Well, I mean, it needs to be in Bluetooth range, so that can vary depending on a lot of factors. But I think they use Bluetooth. Gosh, what is it now? What are we on? What number of Bluetooth are we on now? 5.0. They use an advanced level of Bluetooth, and they work really well. I'm trying to think when I set up the blinds that Turin is referring to. They were in the same room. No, they were kind of across the house from the hub. And I have my SwitchBot Hub 2 upstairs in this studio, and I actually have the blind tilts all throughout the house, like on the other side of the house, and they all work well. They're a little slow because they use Bluetooth, when you're controlling them, but I don't ever have any connection issues with them. So the range for me seems to be pretty good on those. I don't know if you guys have any experience with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had great experience with the range for SwitchBot, and I haven't really had issues. I had when I was testing their blinds, they were on the other side of the basement from where my hub was, and that wasn't really a problem. I think, sometimes it's easy to just look too much at the details of the technology and the label of the technology rather than how the company's using it. I mean, we've seen plenty of companies who have thread products and they don't necessarily do a good job making reliable thread software connections work well. And at the same time, there are companies like GE Sync who, in more recent versions of their hardware, I think have done a good job combining both Bluetooth mesh and Wi-Fi. And one of their engineers at CES was telling me all about how they kind of alternate between the two protocols depending on the situation. And then, of course, there's Flick, which also uses Bluetooth. So, I don't think Bluetooth necessarily is bad. I think it's a challenging wireless standard to do well for smart home tech. And so I think SwitchBot, in my experience, does fine with it. Of course, you're not going to get the range that you would on something like Lutron Clear Connect or Akara's Zigbee, or a lot of other options. But it still works.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. I found too better. I've had better experience. It seems like with. I know people hate hubs here in the chat, but I seem to have better experience with Bluetooth devices that connect to like a manufacturer's hub, like Flick or SwitchBot, versus Bluetooth devices that there's not many anymore with HomeKit, but those that maybe connect directly to your HomeKit. We saw that mostly with locks. I mean, there was a lot of Bluetooth locks until
Hmm.
more recently. So I've always seemed to have pretty good experience with those that use the hub. But again, yeah, you're right. Largely depends on the brand a lot of the times. And
I
their
think the challenge with a
implementation.
lot of the oh, sorry, Shane. I think the challenge with a lot of the HomeKit Bluetooth stuff was that those companies didn't control the other side of the Bluetooth connection. That was with your home hub, and I think that I'd imagine, I'm guessing, that made that harder for them.
Yep. And Eric W says, I have SwitchBot curtains connected through Homey about 10 meters away from the Homey Pro hub. Yep. And that's another benefit there too, I suppose, is you don't have to use the SwitchBot hubs if you're using something like Homey or Home Assistant, if you're kind of going that route. So that's an option too. I actually tested different methods with the Bluetooth SwitchBot blind tilts, and I'm trying to remember it. I actually feel like they worked pretty well with Home Assistant connected directly to Home Assistant without using the hub. Maybe slightly faster, but I don't know. Again, number of factors could be there. I saw also that Roomba is releasing new robot vacuums. You guys see that? Let's see if I
Sure
can pull
did.
that up. So I don't know. Have you guys used Roomba? Have you used Roomba? I bet you haven't used Roomba in the past 2 years at least.
I would say 5 years for
Five
me.
years? Yeah.
5 years for me. Yeah.
They got bit pretty hard by that meme a long time ago, where there was the person using a handheld vacuum in an iRobot store to clean the store, and then of course a photo surfaced of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's just been so much competition in the smart vacuum or the robot vacuum space lately. And like it says here, this is from The Verge also. If you can't beat them, join them. Uh, so they launch 8 new Roombas and finally add LiDAR mapping. So that's pretty much what all the big players are using now for mapping your home and stuff. But they've got 8 new robot
The
vacuums coming out.
the disappointing thing, I thought, from what Jennifer was saying in this article, was just that they kind of seem to be almost like, picking from a manufacturer's catalog of like run of the mill regular robot vacuums that are from other companies. There's a lot of signature features that they pioneered around things like dual rollers and stuff that just aren't in these new robots. Now, of course, they have a lot of catching up to do. So maybe in order to do that catching up, they have to, as it said at the top, you're mentioning, Shane, can't beat them, join them. Maybe they do have to join them by just kind of getting some more off the shelf versions, at least to get them back in the game. Because I agree. I mean, Roborock, Ecovacs, Dreamy, many other companies are far ahead of where they are in terms of the pace of innovation. And now that, keep in mind too, for those of you who aren't fans of Amazon, iRobot's no longer an Amazon company at all. So they're out on their own. They got to swim and find a way to make a business without, deep pockets backing them. So hopefully this works out for them. I'd love to see sort of a major, I'd love to see them remain as a major player in the market, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is going to work out for them or not. We'll have to see when these vacuums get more testing.
It's crazy how
Yeah.
far they've fallen. Like people back in the day used to call every robot vacuum a Roomba, whether it was theirs or not. And now they've like fallen so far behind. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And that my first robot vacuum was a Roomba, and I loved it. I mean, years ago. And yeah, they definitely have some catching up to do. I agree. They do. I know people, Matter is a big topic for robot vacuums here lately, and they do say, I just want to point out here, that a representative says the 505 is the only Roomba among the new models that will support the Matter smart home standard, which the 10 Max also does. So they will have robot vacuums that support Matter soon. So, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that here in the near future. I know Eric just posted a video, I believe, this week, sharing his experience with a robot vacuum natively in the Apple Home app. So it's hard to believe
Yes.
that it's 2025 and we're talking about that like it's some amazing feat, but here we are.
It's so nice to be able to control it right there in Apple Home. And yeah, I love, now there's some things I'd like to see added. For example, I haven't been able to do, and maybe this is something that's just a beta issue, but I'd imagine this is going to stick, where you can't do any accessory controlled automations, right? So you can't automate things in your Apple Home based off of when the robot does something. At least, last time I tried with the betas. But otherwise, it's really nice to have the controls in Apple Home. It's nice to see the status there. And, you can certainly connect it to scenes. So anything you do to sort of trigger the action of a robot vacuum doing something, you can do that with automations inside Apple Home.
Nice.
And it's nice, too, that you can specifically control the areas you want it to clean. So you can set a particular scene that just cleans your dining room or something. And I know a lot of people are complaining because Matter doesn't really have the concept of rooms. And so the rooms you share with your robot vacuum don't map necessarily to the rooms you have in Apple Home or any other system. And that is, I could see the argument of why it would be better that way, but I actually prefer it the way it is, because sometimes you might set the zones for your robot vacuum to be slightly different than the way you categorize your rooms in Apple Home. And in this, you just get kind of in a little sub menu inside of the robot vacuum panel, you get access to those areas you want the robot vacuum to clean. And I like the option of having those kind of separate from your Apple Home rooms.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Superman, we got Superman in the chat, says, which vacuum is Eric talking about? You are using the Ecovacs D-Bot?
Yes, the D-Bot X8 Pro Omni. They, I think, are going to be rolling out firmware updates very soon for that. I heard something about the 20th, I think, with tomorrow, is going to start rolling out to users. And they also have for the T50 Max, which is another one of their 2025 models, as well as the X2 Omni, which was released last year. So those are there. And I think Roborock has similar updates coming soon as well.
Yep, and as does SwitchBot. I know some of the SwitchBot robot vacuums will be updated to, so they actually support Matter through the hub, but soon they'll be updated to support Matter over Wi-Fi directly, where you can add them, and they'll support that Matter, is it 1.4? I think 1.4, where you can add them directly to HomeKit and stuff like that. So, and I actually had one of those, and I've been testing out. My wife actually really likes the vacuum. It seems like so far the Ecovacs. I've actually had some issues trying to get the beta software on my phone. So I was actually thinking about making a video too, but we had some issues with that, and I haven't been able to get that Ecovacs app updated with the beta software or whatever. So that didn't
have a
happen,
trick that I did, Shane, that might tell you off air that you probably already tried, but if you haven't, like this little change might tweak might work for you.
Okay,
So.
I might try that out. Yeah, it'll be, like I said, I want to try that in there. I don't know if I'll make a video at this point. Everybody definitely go watch Eric's video if you want to see robot vacuums in the Home app. But yeah, we've been waiting a long time to see our robot vacuums in the Apple Home app, so I'm excited to give that a try.
Yes, and I think it's a great year for robot vacuums in general, besides Apple Home's integration and Matter integration. You have with the X8 Pro Omni that I reviewed, there's a self-cleaning mop and kind of a less publicized feature, but I think equally as big of a deal. The obstacle avoidance is very good. I think just a real jump from even robots I was seeing last year. And then you have, of course, Roborock has their robotic arm coming sometime in the future this year, as well as Narwhal, I know, has also their take on self-cleaning mops. So just some nice quality of life upgrades like you get every year with robot vacuums. But I think some of these things like the new mop technology and some of this obstacle avoidance is some things that you don't necessarily see as jumps every year in robot vacuums.
Yeah, I agree. It's been really good for us too in the short time I've been using it. I've really kind of fell in love with the Narwhal, the latest one that's available now, because the obstacle avoidance is so good, even just versus the previous model of the Narwhal flagship. I forget the names of the Frio X Ultra, and then the Frio Z Ultra, I think, is the one that I been using. The obstacle avoidance is great. And Caroline liked that one too. And she's picky about robot vacuums. So I'm glad she likes the EcoVacs. Now we just got to find a way to let her automate or let me automate it. She doesn't like me to automate the robot vacuum. So I don't know. I feel like I'm going to have to do that with it supporting scenes and all that in Apple Home.
Well, that's where I like having a scene, and you could tie it to, let's say, a smart button, as I love to do, because then you know the context of when, all right, let's run the robot vacuum. You know your settings, you know the rooms you want it to clean. You touch an Apple Home scene, all the lights come on so the cameras can see clearly in that part of the home, and then the robot runs. So,
Yep, exactly. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out. We've ran slightly over our time. I appreciate your time and hanging out with us today. And thanks everybody in the chat for hanging out with us. Does it know if, yeah, Shark vacuums. I don't know much about Shark vacuums. I haven't heard anything with them. I think they're more of a budget option. I don't know if you guys are familiar with anything they've got going on. I haven't heard any major things coming about Shark lately.
the other thing there too, to jump in on upgrades, I think from what I understand, there's like some more advanced chipset requirements for Matter vacuums. So I think there'll be a very limited number of existing robot vacuums that get Matter. That'll be much more thing that you'll see added to newer models as they come out,
Yeah.
generally speaking.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this year we're definitely going to see some with Matter. I think a lot of brands have been kind of holding off until Apple supported, robot vacuums. So I think now that that's coming, I think we're going to see just a lot of these robot vacuums with that. But anyways, once again, thank you guys so much for hanging out today during the live stream. You guys go check out Eric's channel and George's channel if you haven't already. And we'll have to do this some more. And again, thanks for your patience on the back end with my streaming software and, making all these changes and stuff during the stream.
Honored to be Eric's first guest and now co-first guest of you, Shane. So
That's right. That's right.
thanks, gentlemen.
That,
Thanks.
Yeah.
that's
Thank you,
awesome.
Shane. A lot of
All
fun.
right, guys. Bye, everybody. Y'all have a great day. God bless. All right, and the stream has stopped. So
So